Alright gang, welcome back to Alright gang, welcome back to my Alright gang, welcome back to my Alright gang, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus. Today's video is ASMR. I know what you're thinking, Joshua, that film came out last year. Why didn't you review it then? Well, I wanted to, but this video is cursed. Something always goes wrong. But it doesn't matter. I'm not making excuses. Here I am. Alien Earth is just around the corner, and I thought, what better time to look at an old script I wrote for this film when it first came out. And yes, I should have made a video then, but I've got ADHD and I'm very forgetful. Apparently executive dysfunction is a thing. Like, you can want to do a thing, but your brain is just like, just do it! And your body's like, no, God, please, no! So today we're going to be talking about Alien Romulus, but as a single sentence review, I would say it's a very pretty film with a very shitty story. So it does kind of serve as a little bit of a reset for the Alien franchise. I think Prometheus and Covenant got a little bit too convoluted. Some stuff was cut out. It didn't really make that much sense.
I'll do the fingering.
So we're quickly introduced to our new cast for this franchise. Spoiler alert, most of them die, except for Rain and Andy. Try saying that 5 times fast. Andy is a Weyland-Yutani synthetic android with the directive to protect Rain. We quickly learn that Rain's contract on the Jackson Star mining colony has been extended and she's not going to be able to leave.
Computer says no.
That's when we're introduced to her friends. It just so happens that a research ship has been pulled into the Jackson Star's orbit and contains cryopods, thus allowing our crew to get over to Yavaga, which is 9 years away. Now, plot hole aside, I don't know how this ship would have entered into the Jackson Star's orbit without any kind of military or professional personnel knowing that it's there. But lo and behold, our crew have found it, our crew are going to go to it, and our crew are going to get the cryopods and leave. Straightforward. Chat, do we think it's going to be that simple? So our crew consists of Rain and Andy, Tyler, Bjorn, Kay, and Navarro. Let's just be honest, none of them are really fleshed out. All you need to do in these kind of circumstances is just give your character something to do. Whether that's a win, whether it's a loss, just something. If we're introduced to them, they're given a few lines of expositional dialogue, and then they die. There's nothing there. Why do I care? So pretty much here is my first indicator that this is not Rain's story, it's Andy's. Our crew told Rain the plan, but it's not her that they need, it's Andy. Andy, the Weyland-Yutani model, will have access to different areas of the Weyland-Yutani ship. So our crew leave the Jackson Star on the way to the research ship, and yes, it is devoid of crew or personnel. However, we are going to quickly learn the reason why. So the crew splits up. The boys head into the research ship itself to get the cryopods, and the girls stay behind. Here, Navarro serves as nothing more than narrative dumps, expositional dialogue. And Kay is just there.
Boring!
Out of the 4 side characters, I would argue that Bjorn pretty much has the most compelling backstory. We learn that Bjorn doesn't like androids because an android made a decision that cost his parents their lives.
I don't like you, I don't like you. And I don't like you.
So the boys reach the cryopods, however, plot twist. There's not enough fuel to last for the journey to Yavaga. They reach an area that looks like a research center. Taking fuel from the power supply creates a security breach and the area is locked down. The facehuggers appear to be a bioengineered creature created from the DNA collected from the xenomorph sample in the very beginning of the film, the xenomorph from the original Alien franchise collected from the Nostromo. So with the parasitoids waking up, the boys trapped, the girls have no choice but to enter into the ship to see if they can help. Their decision to take a chip from a dismembered android and place it inside Andy so he can have security access allows them to escape from the room and from the parasitoids. So here's when we get into not necessarily what I would call a pacing issue, because I do feel like the film is paced very well, but the speed at which the story goes increases exponentially. The first 45 minutes are set up perfectly with the tone, the aesthetic, the vibe. They all mean the same thing. And then it transitions from a thriller into an action-heavy film, which I guess is the reason why it fits quite nicely in between Alien 1 and Alien 2. It is at this point we see a directive change in Andy. This is left like intentionally vague, right? So Navarro runs off to her ship because she wants to get back to Earth, back to safety. And it is heavily implied Andy's not going to allow that to happen by any means necessary. Is he going to kill her? We don't know. Which I would have loved that to have been explored more.
I want some more.
Here we get a bit more of an exposition dump from Ian Holmes' character, Rook. Now, I could sit and talk about this for days. I find it disrespectful. Apart from the fact the CGI looked bad, the person has passed away. And yes, I understand he was in the original film. And yes, I understand needing to connect those two together. I just don't think this was the right process. A, they could have used an animatronic head. B, they could have used anybody else's head. And C, I was told that the CGI was improved from the theatrical release to the home release, and I've watched both and I don't agree. In a film that has such a meticulously crafted world from its set design, prosthetics with its alien design, and then a really badly overlaid, uncanny valley style Ian Holm mask, it felt unnecessary and it really, really ruined this part of the film for me. So Navarro has managed to escape. The chest burster is coming out of her, it's wriggling around in her body, and we start with the gruesome death scene.
So nasty.
Kay, who, she has like one line of dialogue, is rightfully terrified, as is Bjorn. They're trapped in the escape shuttle, which has detached from the research ship, kind of shifted around and crashed into the other side of the ship.
So rude.
Andy, Rain and Tyler are together. They need to get to where the ship has crashed into. They need to go through a corridor of parasitoids. I'm nitpicking now. There's a particular shot where one of the facehuggers looks like it's a remote controlled car.
Oh my god, what is that? Yeah. What is that?
Like, I'm all for prosthetics. I think in 10 years' time, this film is still going to look amazing. So while our main crew are doing this, getting through the corridor, the xenomorph is gestating and becoming an adult. Kay and Bjorn are essentially trapped with it as it's growing, and it's Bjorn's time. It's Bjorn's time to go. Also, I thought it was just a conspiracy theory, but that's Bjorn's baby. They're cousins. I guess not the weirdest thing in this franchise. And then we get to another tense moment where Andy's directives are in full swing. A locked door stands between Kay, Tyler, and Rain, and Andy essentially refuses to let her in.
Somebody help me! Brenda!
His justification is that the xenomorph is watching and there will not be enough time for her to get in and for her to be safe. There was plenty of time, he could have opened the door. This obviously causes a lot of anguish with Tyler, who didn't know she was pregnant. However, here's the thing. Apparently the father was Bjorn. Bjorn has an issue with androids. Thematically, it would have made more sense if you would have swapped out Tyler for Bjorn in this scene. It would have been so much more impactful because he wouldn't trust Andy further. Conflict could have risen. So it's just like a recurring theme where all of the plot points are there. They should have just been shifted slightly.
That's my opinion!
Now Tyler and Ray need to think of a plan to escape. Here we're introduced to another element that I don't really agree with. Aim assist. You're essentially putting the lives of your characters on easy mode and removing all of their agency. And yes, it does lead to a cool scene, I will admit. I don't know if this is something that has existed in the franchise before now, and it's something that only someone who plays video games would have included. There's virtually no conflict between any of the characters, but usually with these kind of films, when you have some kind of otherworldly beast or creature, you kind of get one character that's like, oh my god, she's so beautiful. There's no conflict in approach. There's no conflict in plan. Hey, you should do what I'm telling you to do because that's going to be better. No, I'm going to do what I want, and thus I'm going to end up getting killed. Well, now you're dead, but I did tell you. So now what we're experiencing in this film is a different directive from Andy and a slightly different persona, which, again, makes this his film, not Rain's film. With Kay essentially kidnapped, screams from the lower deck can be heard, inspiring Tyler to investigate and hopefully save his sister. Lo and behold, through some miracle, she's still alive. We get what is the closest to a hero's death in this film. Tyler jumps in the way of the xenomorph's tail, saving Rain and being dragged away. There's already 4 or 5 xenomorphs on the ship already. Why did we witness the facehugger go to chestburster, go to fully formed xenomorph at such a quick rate when there's already xenomorphs on the ship? They should have been the threat from the beginning. There is a small part of me that thinks the xenomorphs was done a disservice to in this film. They're also taken out quite easily. So in what I would describe as a kerfuffle, Andy gets hurt by the xenomorphs, so with Kay now safe, Ray tells her to go up to the escape shuttle. And by the way, I've said Ray so many times in a previous video. I spent about 40 minutes filming and I just constantly said Ray. As she's going to go back and save Andy, who was attacked by a xenomorph and is twitching out on the lower decks. This was not a hard decision. Rain was never going to leave him behind. Yes, she goes up in the lift initially, but of course she was going to go back for Andy. Why wouldn't she? Now, we are told in the narrative that Yvarga does not allow synthetic androids on their planet. This is just another case of an interesting theme that is not explored. It would have been more interesting if the directive change in Andy causes Rain to be skeptical about taking him with her. But it just ties into my thought of this is a very pretty film with beautiful prosthetics and beautiful sets, with a very flat story and flat characters. So Rain turns off the gravity, with no shooting experience, manages to shoot and kill 5 xenomorphs, creating a whirlpool of acid blood in the air. Her and Andy manage to float through it unharmed, make their way over to the lift, and on their way to the escape shuttle. So they fend off the final xenomorph in the elevator, and we get a classic callback line, delivered really badly. I found it funny at first. The line through Andy felt unsure of itself. It felt like a callback for a callback's sake. Now here's just a minor gripe I have with the film. If you tell me 10 seconds till impact, mentally I'm counting down in my head. So they're at the bottom of the lift and they're told 10 seconds until impact. It's been longer than 10 seconds. So, job done. The xenomorphs are dead. The research ship is about to crash into the asteroid belt of another planet, and they can jump in the cryopods and head on over to Yavaga. Nope. So Kay has injected herself with the synthetic vials that Rook and his team were working on. This has created the baby inside of her to mutate, thus creating a new threat. Now, we have seen something like this before. In Alien Resurrection, it was Ripley's clones that she was dealing with. It was handled a little bit better there, just because there was a bit more weight behind it. It was the moral dilemma of having helped create this creature and then having to be the one to kill it.
You ain't my mother! Yes, I am!
I do want to give a shout out to the design of the creature because it was gross. We enter into a little cat and mouse scenario with Rain and this new offspring demon. So in the first film, Ripley dispatches of the one xenomorph threat by opening the airlock and expelling him from the ship, and a similar thing happens here.
Same, but different.
So Rain heads down into the lower decks of the ship where the cargo bay is held. She puts on her asteroid suit, manages to unclip the cargo bay container, expels the offspring from the ship. Just like the second half of this film, this all happens very quickly, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I do appreciate the aesthetic of the film. I do appreciate that there was very little dialogue towards the back end of the film. I would have liked to hear some moral dilemmas from the characters. It's really just asking the questions, like if you would have been in that situation and if you would have given birth to that alien creature, nasty hybrid thing, how would you react? Like, Rain is traumatized. She's going to be traumatized. We are going to get a sequel. And I would love to see some PTSD elements. But just some final thoughts. Should I do a little segment? Repitch corner. Repitch corner. One, I would have given Rain a gun in the beginning. The reason being, setting the tone as her being a shooter, she knows how to handle herself. She's gone up to the ship and, oh, you can't use guns because the acid from the aliens will melt through the floor and you'll all die. She has this skill that she cannot use. When she turns off the gravity and is able to shoot all the aliens, it makes a lot more sense that she would be able to kill 5 xenomorphs with no issues. I would have done away with killing Navarro that way with the facehuggers. I probably would have left the facehuggers out of it and I would have started straight with the xenomorph threat. Instead, what I would have done is I would have had Kay come into the ship first, met Rook, been given the vial that would have helped her, and instead of having the facehugger journey, I would have had that baby journey with her pregnancy growing at a rapid rate, creating a dilemma between her brother, her cousin, Bjorn, who apparently is the father, and them freaking out at the rate at which this baby is growing. I don't know, it just feels like there were so many narrative elements in there that weren't explored. The focus heavily was on the aesthetic of the film and fitting in with the Alien franchise, which I think it does a good job. Is it deep? No. Does it reinvent the wheel? No. Did it need to? No. Is it fun? Yes. What was your first Alien film? I think mine was Alien Resurrection, and then I went back and watched Alien 3, and I was like, damn, this is some scary shit. But I understand the franchise as a whole is a little bit spotty, so it's nice that we seem to be on the right track. But there you go, there are some unprofessional views and opinions on Alien Romulus. Oh, sorry, Alien Romulus. So Rain, as a character, a little bit flat. She gets some cool hero shot moments, but in terms of her characterization and persona, I don't really see it. I don't think she's going to be on like a top 10 heroine list anytime soon. And yes, I know she's not supposed to be Ripley, but when you come into a legacy franchise like this, you want your characters to have a bit more agency, a bit more power, a bit more gravitas. You want them to speak, you want to listen, you want to be taken on a journey. And like, yes, I know these films, you expect people to die, you expect cannon fodder, but I also like characters. I like their themes to be explored. I like their personalities to come through. I like to see how people would handle themselves in high intensity, high pressure environments, such as being hunted by a xenomorph. But overall, I did very much enjoy this film. I liked it a lot. Thank you for sticking around until the end of my video. Hopefully, see you at the next one.